Is it worth paying 13 times as much for sat-nav software just because it was designed for caravans, campervans and motorhomes?
Railway crossing ahead.
Hi, it's Dave T here, and those that follow the channel will know that a month or so back I installed a custom mount in my campervan to hold a tablet-based sat-nav system. The sat-nav product that I chose was Sygic, and several people asked for a review, so here it is. So far we've used Sygic for about 2,400-ish miles of touring in our campervan. That's not a huge amount, but it's certainly given me the chance to get a feel for the system and identify what I do and don't like about it. Sygic, the company, was founded in 2004 and is headquartered in Bratislava, Slovakia. It focuses on mapping products for both the general public and also business use, such as in trucking and logistics. They effectively have three main products: GPS navigation for general car use, which has a free version and a premium paid version. Then there's the truck and the caravan variants, which are only available as the premium, which you have to pay for. All of the premium versions are charged a subscription, which is not surprising for navigation systems. There are also add-ons which can then be purchased if required. I've put together the chart on screen as an indication of the full prices, but be aware that the prices seem to almost constantly be discounted, so you'll likely pay significantly less. At the time of writing, the truck and caravan subscriptions were 55% and 62% off. But even so, as you can see, the car version, which comes with all of the add-ons, is significantly lower cost. Now, there are two aspects of any navigation system that are critical for how well it works. The first and most obvious of these is the maps that it uses. Now, Sygic uses TomTom maps and traffic data, which is generally considered to be good quality. I have seen some reviews where they state an opinion about the map quality, but I'm not going to do that simply because even a full-time professional driver, which I'm definitely not, would only ever really be driving a tiny proportion of the total roads, and so any opinion as to the quality is going to be, well, very subjective. For example, our recent 1,200-mile road trip of Scotland was less than 0.5% of the UK's 250,000 miles of roads. Now, the main advantage of Sygic, however, is that even with the free version, you then get automatic updates several times a year. And regular updates is probably the most effective way to guarantee the actual quality and usability of the maps. The second most important aspect is the system's route algorithm, which is a fancy way of saying how the system works out the route. Here I can offer some personal opinion because on a couple of occasions the route Sygic chose did appear, to us at least, a little bit odd. However, this could well have been my own fault for not actually looking deeper into the settings at the time, which do actually offer a significant number of options to fine-tune the route offered. There are 4 route modes, for example: fastest, shortest, prefer local roads and prefer main roads. And this is in addition to one of Sygic's main features for drivers of large vehicles or towing, which is that you can enter the details of your rig into the system. This will then automatically avoid unsuitable roads based on things such as low bridges, weight restrictions, etc. Now, as a software developer, I can say pretty confidently that this will not always be perfect. There's a huge difference between a road with no height, width or weight restrictions and one that you'd be happy to drive a large motorhome down. But with the truck or caravan versions of Sygic, you are, at least in theory, using a product which will try and avoid issues. The caravan and motorhome version of Sygic has a number of other features specifically designed for campers, such as the inclusion of campsites as points of interest. This means that you can actually search and find campsites, then navigate to them. You can also view campsites along your route, though this has some disappointing limitations that I'll explain later. For caravanners, Sygic provides caravan-specific speed limits and alerts. There's also multi-stop route planning and the ability for Android users, at least, to plan a map on Google Maps and then actually send it to Sygic. Now, I'm running and viewing Sygic on a tablet, but it can also be run on a phone, for example, and then connected via Android Auto or CarPlay to display on a touchscreen head unit with either of those features. But it's worth bearing in mind that is a chargeable extra. In terms of route planning, there are 2 main ways to enter a route, the first being to zoom and pan to somewhere on the map, then tap on the place that you want to go to. This will show the address in a small banner, which if you tap again will take you to the navigation panel. Now, this method is probably only really useful for navigating to nearby locations that you're familiar with, or to add an ad hoc diversion to your current route. The main method is to tap the search icon on the main screen, which then shows the search screen with options for type here to search, city street, home, nearby POI, favourites, history or GPS coordinates. Now on the face of it, the type here to search enables you to just type a postcode or address with a list of matches then dynamically appearing as you type. But it's worth a bit of an explanation because there are more efficient options. For example, if you tap on city street, the next screen displays from top to bottom the country, the town, the street, the house number, and then also a POI option. Each of these defaults to the last selected or searched destination. So for example, the country, town and street in this example on screen are all already set. So to find a different street within Harlow, we simply have to touch the street option, type the name of the street we want to find, and then select it from a list of streets just in Harlow. Or to find a petrol station near to Appleton Close, we can just simply tap POI to find petrol stations near to that location. Now this is a sensible approach and quite quick to use, but something about the interface means that it's not initially intuitive, so I thought it was worth a quick explainer. The nearby POI option will typically just list POIs up to about 30 miles away from your current location. This includes campsites and open parking areas, but you can't actually specify which exact types of POI within the category you're looking at, which is a bit of a shame. So for example, because parking spaces and campsites are joined together, you could type in camp into the search bar and at the top of the POI list, but this would then just list POIs with camp in their name. This also highlighted one oddity in the POI data, with Essex Boot Camp appearing on the list when it's actually an outdoor fitness ground, not a campsite. Incidentally, you can actually create your own category of POIs and add your own POIs to that. Going back to the original options, you can also select a predefined favourite or select from your history of previous trips. A personal favourite of mine is the GPS coordinates option, which will actually accept different formats of latitude and longitude. I'd strongly recommend using coordinates instead of postcodes, especially if navigating to smaller rural campsites such as CLs or CSs. Though I did struggle to enter negative or west longitudes, and I assume the same is going to be the case with southerly latitudes. Interestingly, the basic car version of Sygic actually supports WAT-free words, which is a simpler way to share coordinates. Unfortunately, it looks like even the premium versions of Sygic's most expensive versions don't actually get this feature. Another minor gripe while I'm here is that the back button is often obscured by the keyboard, so to exit some pages you have to hide the keyboard, then press the back button. It's a small thing, but it's annoying and not necessary. Once you've found or entered your destination, you can simply click navigate to set it as the destination. Or you can instead set it as the start point of your route and then go back through the search process to add the destination. You also have the options to mark the location as a place to avoid, view it on the map, find POIs near to it, or add it to your favourites. Adding multiple waypoints is one of the additional features of the truck and caravan versions. It does work, but I found the interface a little bit clunky and less intuitive than others I've used. Like most sat-navs, when you set a destination, Sygic will often offer a choice of routes, which are shown alongside with distances and predicted duration. We noticed a potential issue with this on our recent trip to Scotland. It seemed that when we deviated from the initially chosen route, the sat-nav recalculated as expected, but did not then really seem to take our previous choice of route into account. It's not a major problem, but it's worth bearing in mind if you deviate from the initial route but really want to maintain your choice about the latter part of the route, then it may be best to actually cancel the route, reselect the destination from the previous options, and then that should give you a choice of route options again. When using Sygic for navigation, the majority of the screen is taken up by the map, which can be viewed in either 2D top down or 3D with the map slanted away from you. In 2D mode, you can set north to be always up on the screen, but you can't do that in 3D. Your location is represented by a large arrow symbol in the center of the screen when in 2D mode, or in the lower third when in 3D mode. The maps are clear and offer a day or night mode, which can be set to auto, which as far as I can tell uses the time of day rather than the available light to swap modes. You can use typical pinch and swipe actions to zoom in or out and pan around. And there's also a plus and minus icons at the side of the map with a kind of 4 tile icon in between them for swapping between 2D and 3D. If you zoom out, then the map auto changes to 2D from 3D, which makes perfect sense. In the top right corner of the map, the current road's speed limit is shown, and to the left there are icons for traffic, speed, camera warnings and other POIs ahead. And of course there is optional voice guidance.
After 2/3 of a mile, at the roundabout take the first exit.
Appearance wise, the maps are okay but not stunning, and on a large screen tablets things look just a little bit oversized. You can elect to see POIs on the map, which is a great feature, but could have been executed a bit better. This is because one of the features of the Caravan version is the inclusion of the campsites as POIs. This is somewhat useful when setting destinations, but only really if you know the name of the site you're going to, in which case you're probably going to have the postcode or other address anyway. What would be far more useful is to see the campsites on the map. Now you can elect to show them as POIs on the map, which is a really great feature if you are en route and want to find campsites along the way. But unfortunately, POIs only appear when you are zoomed in to roughly a 3 or 4 mile radius. I can understand that having too many POIs on the map could make it cluttered, but I think there should really be an option to turn specific types of POIs on all of the time, regardless of the map scale. That way you could, for example, look much further ahead to actually locate possible campsites. To the right of the screen there's a sidebar which can be configured to show different information or icons to access certain features. The configuration of the sidebar is limited, and to be frank, the way in which you configure it is a bit clumsy. It's effectively divided into a grid, and there are options to determine what is in each part of that grid. But there are only about 9 options offered, the titles of which are a bit kind of vague. And whilst I'm not expecting a full interface design tool, they could have at least provided some sample images of what each option will show. Kind of like I've put together for you here. Documentation, by the way, is also a little bit sketchy. When navigating, the route is, as you'd expect, highlighted on the map, and depending on which options you've purchased, it will give advanced warnings about things like traffic, speed limit changes and speed cameras up ahead. There's also an option to be warned if you are exceeding the current speed limit. According to the marking material, it will also show specific speed limits and warnings for caravans. From what I've seen, it doesn't seem to apply RV specific speed limits. For example, our campervan, plated at 4 tons, is limited to 50 on single carriageway roads, but Sygic doesn't seem to apply that rule. You can change the notification sounds for these alerts in the settings. In fact, even if you are happy with the default sounds, it's probably worth going through the settings to make yourself aware of the sounds and their meanings in advance.
School zone ahead.
Back to the main navigation features, where Sygic will show a representation of junctions on motorways and dual carriageways to show which lane you should be in as you approach. This and other features generally worked well whilst we were travelling. We did have one issue where the voice prompt for the exit lane did not play until we were kind of actually on the exit lane. This meant that the guidance to take exit towards whatever the place was disagreed with the visual roundabout guidance at the end of the slip road. Like a complete idiot, I followed the place name guidance, but now I'm aware of this, I probably won't cause a problem in the future. Any other navigation issues we had were probably more down to user error. Your progress along the route is actually shown as a purple bar along the bottom of the screen. Once the bar fills the width of the map, you should have arrived. This bar also shows likely traffic and delays along the route ahead as yellow and red sections. Traffic delays are also shown as red alongside the route line in the map. So, what are my conclusions about Sygic satellite navigation for caravans and motorhomes? Well, let's get the criticisms out of the way first. Perhaps my biggest complaint is that it could so easily have been just a bit better. For example, more advantage could have been taken of the POI database by displaying things like campsites when zoomed further out. Also, the interface could be more configurable, or at least easier to configure. I did miss the breadcrumb feature of my Land Cruiser's sat-nav, which left a trail of dots of the preceding journeys, something that's very useful to retrace your route back from a campsite to the main road. But to be fair, I haven't seen that on any other sat-navs either. Having said all that, for the price I paid, which was just over £50 for European maps, speed cameras and real-time traffic for 12 months, you see what I mean about how it's severely discounted from the retail price, I'm actually quite happy with it. I'm not sure I'd have paid that £170 list price, but like I say, it seems to be on permanent offer, so best wait for a deal. The maps and POI database are not perfect, but you have to bear in mind that they can be accessed without an internet connection, which means that they are going to be more than sufficient most of the time and most importantly available all of the time. Whilst care still needs to be taken when planning routes with large vehicles, especially when towing, the ability to set your vehicle parameters should avoid most obvious route mishaps. Features like the overspeed warnings, camera alerts, where legal, are also worthwhile if only for peace of mind. On balance, I'd say that for large vehicles and towing, Sygic is a good option, but would certainly recommend waiting until it is on discount before purchasing. Copilot was recommended by a viewer of my other sat-nav video, so I'm going to give that a try, but I'd say that Sygic has set a fairly high bar to reach. I hope you found this video helpful or at least interesting, and if you have, then please do hit the like button to help the channel out. If you are interested in seeing other videos I make, then please do consider subscribing to my channel and hit the bell icon to be notified of new videos I post. But most of all, thanks for watching.